Am I the a-hole for not supporting girlfriend's sister? Original post. Some info. I have been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for 5 years. She loves her sister a ton, which is a good thing as I believe supporting and helping your siblings, as long as it doesn't ruin your own life. You will understand why I say this later on. We just put down a mortgage on a house in the suburbs of a large city. I, 28 male, work in tech as a software developer with a master's degree in computer science. I make quite a lot of money, so money issues never arose, while girlfriend doesn't work and do the chores/cooking in the house. Both agreed on this. I was gonna propose to girlfriend next year, but a problem arose about 2 years ago. For the last 2 years, probably longer, girlfriend has been sending money to her younger sister we'll call Emily. Emily got pregnant at 20 years old. She works as a waitress, while the father is bouncing from job to job. Emily says that he is very lazy. He will disappear hours at a time without telling Emily where he's going or what he's doing. Emily has asked my girlfriend on several occasions for money, and my girlfriend, being the nice and sweet person she is, says yes all the time. It started off as paying for diapers, no problem. Then baby clothes, which also no problem. Then daycare, which I just brushed off. I talked with girlfriend saying we can't always pay for everything, and that helping out for a couple things is okay, but not everything. Girlfriend reassured me and said that it would be stopping soon once they get their feet picked up, which is fine. Then one day I hired a financial planner, and the next day I get an email saying my account has sent approximately $50,000 for the last 10 months and have now just around $20,000 sitting in my account. I talked with my girlfriend, and she apologizes and says she knew that I wouldn't want to keep sending her sister money and how she just cares about her sister. We've been paying for everything: insurance, rent, car payment, daycare, clothing for all three, dinners, dates, going out expenses, and it is partly my fault because I never checked my bank account. My girlfriend shows me text messages between her and Emily saying she needs the money. I then noticed a pattern where Emily would say, "Hey, can you send me dollars? I don't have money for blank." And of course, girlfriend says yes. I brush it off, and girlfriend says she won't send any more. Then the next day, girlfriend sends her $1,000 because they needed car repairs. I talk with my girlfriend and we get into an argument where she says she will always help her sister no matter what. And I understand, to an extent. And we argue trying to understand each other's point of view. As stated, before we had $20,000, and now we're down to $19,000. And then how about the next time? And the next time after that, on top of our own expenses? Girlfriend then decided that she needs some time alone, and that she will be at her mother's for the time being. And now I'm all alone in the house I thought I would live with the girl of my dreams. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my girlfriend, for caring about her sister too much? Now for the top comments/advice before reading the updates. Info: how does your girlfriend have access to your account? We share the same account. Decided it'd be best as she went to buy groceries, house items, etc. Cut her off. I'd also rethink the relationship, to be honest. She basically stole from you. Not the a-hole. Separate your bank accounts. Do not let her use your money for her sister. That sister is gonna be a leech for your entire life. So yes, obviously Emily comes packaged with your girlfriend. Better reconsider your entire relationship, because I have a feeling that Emily ain't gonna let the golden goose go. I hope the house isn't under joint names, and that you can finance the mortgage on your own. Time to look at the big picture. Financial planning. Money comes in, money is used for X, Y, and Z. Some fun money, some savings. Your girlfriend can send as much money as she wants to her sister, as long as it comes from her fun money. She doesn't get to raid your savings. If you cannot trust her, you also don't want to marry her. Not the a-hole. Just pointing out that $5,000 a month is a pretty good salary, given she's likely not going to report it as income, and it is on top of whatever her sister earns. Sister's living the good life. Yes, if she wants to keep the relationship going, this is a good strategy. Though I don't know how I could ever trust someone that would spend $50K, agree not to do it again without talking to me, then the next day send $1,000 behind my back. At this point, she and her sister may be splitting the money for when Opie and her break up, as 99.99% of people would never do this if they wanted their relationship to last. Even if that's not happening, to go to her mom's like that is some sort of power play like she has been wronged. It's just so messed up. That is a massive red flag. If she's taking liberties with money in your joint account to fund the lives of 3 people now, don't you think this will continue in the future? $50,000 is a lot of money. She lied when she said she would stop and then leaves when you call her out on it. Please do yourself a favor and change the locks. Terminate access to your account and get a new girlfriend. You are her cash cow, and she's taking advantage of you. Totally agree. $50K is definitely a lot of money. It's more than some people make annually. She's literally paying them a salary at the liberty of depleting OP's savings. And if your girlfriend's sister cannot get back on her feet on $5K a month, she's not going to get back on her feet. And what about when her parents retire? It's clear that she feels entitled to funding her family's lifestyle so they can live beyond their means. Unlimited access to your bank account before marriage is wild to me, even if she's doing work in the home. I can appreciate your generosity, but again, you are not responsible for funding her sister's family's lifestyle. And imagine how much more entitled she would feel once you were married. You could tell your girlfriend that if she wants to support her sister, she can get a part-time job and send her the whole paycheck. I think part of the issue could be that she's not understanding the value of the money and could be out of touch after not working for a couple years. Perhaps she would feel differently once she realizes how much work it takes to make that money, even though she'd obviously be making less per hour than you. Not day whole. Now for the updates. Thank you everyone for the support. I never thought that my situation would blow up to thousands of people. I'll try to answer some questions at best. I make around $150,000 a year as a lead software developer. And as someone who has no kids, dogs, or any major responsibility besides myself and a girlfriend, I never checked my account. She comes from a culture where family is everything and money is just paper. She texted me earlier saying how it should always be family first, and that money doesn't mean anything without family, and how we should help close family like siblings in their time of need. At this point, I told her I needed time to myself, and told her not to come back until I'm ready to talk. I apologized if my sentences aren't making sense, as Whiskey is my only friend right now. I also forgot to mention, we started dating before all this money came into play, so I trusted her. I'm more sad by the betrayal than the money. Money will come back, but time will never come back. 5 whole years. My proposal plan, my life plan, my future kids I dreamt about with her, just gone. All the things we've said to each other, all the late night wine drunk times we spent, all the dates, all the flowers I gave her. I really tried with all my power to be the best man she can have. I would have trusted her with my life. And what do I get back? $5,000 gone. Final update 2 weeks later. She is now my ex. We met at a local coffee shop and I told her that things wouldn't work out for us. And she went absolutely ballistic. She caused a scene begging me to not end it. It did hurt me to see her like this, but after a couple weeks to give it some thought, I would not want a wife who is a liar and one I couldn't trust financially. I left a $100 bill on the table and left, but she followed me down to my car. She begged and told me she wouldn't send any more money to her sister and how she would do anything for us to be together. It was hard, but I stayed strong. She picked up her belongings the other day and I almost had to call the cops because she wouldn't leave. She first tried everything, from small favors, begging, crying, then it turned to screaming that I ruined her life, to even saying that without her I wouldn't have gotten to where I am now because of her support. I stayed strong, and when she left, I just broke down sobbing. For those wondering, I'm not gonna press charges because all I want is for her to leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't ever want to see her face again. The money will come back as it's just me, a house, and 2 paid-off cars. It does get lonely, so I'm thinking of getting a puppy, a Doberman for those wondering. Thank you everyone for all the suggestions, and a lot of you really had me thinking about my decisions, and I definitely learned a lot of valuable lessons. Goodbye and thank you. Diapers, sure, maybe even daycare. That's a big expense and that can really help out a young mother. But $5,000 a month? No, that's a full-time job worth of pay. Girl gave away a third of his yearly income in less than 10 months. That is twice as much as I'm making a month with a full-time job. That goes above and beyond helping with the necessities. That is bankrolling someone's entire life. I have a feeling that OP's ex-girlfriend is more worried about how she's going to explain to her sister that there are no more handouts coming than her relationship coming to an end. Maybe she's also worried about how her life is no longer filled with that meaningless paper and she will have to get a job while living with less. Seems like she got used to living that lifestyle and can't go back. I doubt she can rely on her sister to pay back the favor. A smaller joint account would have been good at this time, or more money in investments. She lost the golden goose, which is giving her more mercenary motives in the relationship. I genuinely think she's maybe a pushover, or can't say no type of person to be guilt-tripped. And like I said in another comment, it's easier to spend the money when it wasn't you who had to work for it. Lol, sure, money's just paper when you're not the one earning it. It must be nice to be so fast and loose with someone else's money. Glad he found everything out and dropped her. I luckily had this demonstrated to me when I was still young. A girl I met at uni, she lived for free in a nice house owned by her family friends, worked hospitality jobs, and would just move jobs when she got bored. We went out as friends every week, and I ended up paying for movies, coffees, etc. One day, we got into the topic of money and she said, "You care too much about money." I disagreed, and we went back and forth till I dropped the subject. The next time I saw her, she wanted to see a movie and I agreed. I paid for my ticket and stepped aside as the attendant asked her to pay for hers. She was stunned for a moment and had to dig through her bag for her card to pay. We didn't go out after that. Knew a girl at uni like that. Insanely naive, with the ability to just pay for anything she wanted to with a credit card her parents paid off in full. She heard me complaining that I was broke till payday and was utterly incredulous that I had to wait, that my parents just wouldn't give me money unless I was in real trouble, and that I politely turned down her offer to get me what I needed. She was trying to be kind, but it was just so scary how little she considered the cost of anything. I had a similar girl at work who asked why I took the bus instead of buying a car. I came to find out her parents paid for insurance, fuel, registration. She didn't even know what this was and paid for half the initial sale price. No wonder she thought it was such a simple solution. Last story. Am I the a-hole for basically telling my brother that I don't blame his girlfriend for leaving him? My 32 female brother, 34, had been dating 32-year-old Jane for like 10 or 11 years. In the beginning, the whole family absolutely adored her, but over time, like maybe 3 years ago, Jane became kind of witchy and distant, and none of us understood why. She wouldn't answer us when we asked, so we admittedly kind of just avoided her honestly. She blocked everyone off everything, stopped going to family events, etc. I know I personally started really hating her, for personal reasons, as the only person she ever acknowledged was my husband and she was flirty, and it didn't sit well with me. However, my brother shows up here completely tanked last night, saying Jane left him. During his visit, he started opening up on the why aspect and informed me that when Jane was like 23, she expressed wanting to get married and wanted to have babies and whatnot. Something none of us knew, as we thought they were child-free by choice, as that's what my brother told all of us. He said to me that he told her that if she loved him, she would wait until he got his stuff together. So she apparently waited around for years, just waiting on him, before he finally told her last week that he didn't want kids or to get married, and that he was comfortable with the life he has currently. So she left. He expressed that around the time that she started acting really bad to the rest of the family was because during that time I was pregnant, and she couldn't stand being around me. He also very bluntly said she wanted your husband and talked about him all the time because she knew he wanted kids and I was holding out. And he had apparently been the reason she blocked all of us because of her comments about my husband. But looking back now, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways, at the end of the conversation, I said that I can understand why she left. I told him I understand him as well, and his reasoning behind not wanting kids or marriage. But if it was that important to her, I can totally see why she left. Especially where he made a promise of when I get my stuff together, just to tell her years later that he basically lied and never wanted kids or marriage. So she probably feels like he wasted her time. I made a point to tell him I understood both sides, but he chalked this up to me agreeing with Jane and said that women shouldn't always stick together, you know. I'm your freaking family. And Jane left the love we had behind over potential kids and a piece of paper. That wasn't what I was trying to say, but regardless, my husband did tell me later on that I should have just not said what I said, regardless of how true it was. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She wanted children, and he didn't, so she left. Frankly, he wasted a decade of her time. I feel bad for her. Not just wasted her time, but very possibly took away her opportunity to have kids at all. At 32, she's on a tight timeline to date around, meet someone great, and mutually decide to have kids together. Poor woman. Yeah, they had a fundamental incompatibility, and she left to pursue someone else. All in all, this was honestly the best outcome he could have expected to receive under the circumstances. And he should be grateful she respected him enough to just leave, instead of trying to force the relationship to proceed on her terms through duplicitous means like he did. Not the a-hole, and I'm saying this as a married child-free guy. If one person wants kids and the other doesn't, they're fundamentally incompatible, and your brother wasted good years of his life by stringing this poor woman along. And not to trot out this line, but if he changes his mind and suddenly wants to have kids, he will always be able to do that. He could turn around at 45 or 50, hook up with a younger woman and have kids. There are men in their 70s who are fathers to newborns. Barring an accident or a disease, men will always have time. Women don't have that luxury. If you want kids, losing 10 years is a huge deal. Actually, men also don't have much time. The older a man gets, the more risk is there that the child won't be healthy or will have problems. Also, the women who will bear that embryo will also take health risk from that. So yeah, men and women have a biological clock. Not the a-hole. Your brother knew he wasn't keen on marriage and kids. He knew Jane was. He intentionally led her on with lie suggestion he would want those things in the near future once his act was together. And when he figured he'd led her long enough that she would fall victim to sunk cost fallacy, he dropped the bomb that he would never be willing to give her the relationship and family of her goals. Your brother doesn't suck for not wanting those things, but he sucks so hard for leading Jane on, and then acting like he's the one with any right to be hurt. And your husband sucks for butting in and suggesting you pretend to side with your a-hole brother just to keep some semblance of peace. Jane doesn't deserve that, even if you'll never see her again. Update. Husband was killed in a car crash and left us in debt. Original post. Forgive me if this is a little disjointed. I'm still reeling from trying to wrap my head around my current situation. My husband passed away very suddenly recently, and in the week since his passing, I have discovered that he was keeping huge secrets from me. In going through our financial information, I have discovered multiple credit cards in his, mine, and the kids' names that are at a maximum balance. 2 sets of loan papers from different banks for over $20,000. Paperwork that says our mortgage is 4 months behind, and a ton of other things that I can barely make sense of. From what I can tell, his business hasn't been making any actual money in over a year, and our savings accounts are drained. There is evidence that he has been using some gambling website and has lost thousands and thousands of dollars. I've been a stay-at-home mom for our entire marriage, and he owned his own business, so he handled everything with the money. I have no idea how to deal with any of this or what to do. I know I need a lawyer, but our accounts are pretty much empty, and I'm at a total loss over what to do. Are there any free legal options I can look into? I have tried to call a bunch of lawyers that all of them have said they won't give out any advice or counsel over the phone. Am I liable for all this debt even though I didn't consent to my name, and certainly not my kids' names, being used to open credit cards? I feel like an idiot for being this uninformed. But I'm completely unprepared to deal with this, and I'm terrified we are going to lose our house and worse. I never in a million years dreamed he would do this to us. Can anyone point me in the right direction, please? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I have discovered multiple credit cards in his name, mine, and the kids' names that are at a maximum balance. Credit cards in kids' names or your name that you did not open is identity theft. You should report it. There's a lot of good information on the r/personal finance sidebar. I'm sorry this happened to you. Good luck. OP this so much. It's identity fraud. File a police report, then send it to each of the card holders. Follow the advice on personal finance. In addition to what others have said, do not make any payments on any of your husband's debts until after you have made absolutely sure that you are responsible for them. Any type of payment, or even acknowledgement of a debt can make you responsible for it even if you wouldn't have been otherwise. By absolutely sure, I mean that you've consulted a lawyer who has looked at your entire situation and concluded that you are responsible. This is not true. I worked in the estate department for half a decade in one of the big 4 banks. Just because you make a payment does not give us the right to change guarantors and be entitled to collect directly from you. It is good advice not to pay indeed. But making a voluntary payment does not obligate you to pay the rest. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. They will file a claim against the estate, then you will likely need an attorney to put together a list of assets and liabilities. Then you need to declare your right to a spousal allowance as it gets paid out before debtors get anything. Then the schedule of debts come into play, and depending on how much money falls into your husband's estate, will depend what gets paid. Much will likely be written off as long as your name wasn't attached. Making a payment on a debt that isn't yours doesn't automatically mean you assume it though. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. First, I'm very sorry for your loss. And I'm further very sorry that you were left in this awful predicament by somebody you trusted. If you are looking for free legal options, there are several in Ohio. If you search Ohio Legal Aid on Google, several organizations come up. It's going to be a bunch more phone calls, but you should be able to get help that way. Depending on your income, they'll either offer you aid or else they'll be able to refer you to an attorney. You will certainly need an attorney to navigate all of this. I hope also that you have emotional support through all of this. You are going through a lot. I wish you all the best. Now for the first update. I wanted to give you an update since so many people gave advice and said such kind things. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented and gave me advice. I'm sorry I didn't respond to the other post. I was just so completely overwhelmed. I still am really, but I did read every comment and message and I appreciate everyone that took time to comment. I was able to find some legal help, and we are working on sorting out the mess my family's in. Things were far worse than I even knew when I made my first post. Altogether, the debt that was accumulated is close to $500,000. At this point, I have no idea how much I'm going to end up responsible for. The lawyer has said it could take years to sort everything out. No matter what happens, we are going to be losing the house. I'm working on finding us somewhere to stay before they actually foreclose so we don't get evicted and have that on my record too. I want to try to answer some of the questions and advice people mentioned in the other post. I have 3 kids, so that is the we that I keep saying. The older 2 are from a previous relationship, but I have contacted Social Security to get benefits started for my youngest. Thank you to the user who mentioned that. My husband's business was a computer/tech repair company he ran by himself. He had a few people he would call in to help with larger jobs, but 95% of everything was him alone. Last year or so, it appears he wasn't doing any actual work and there was no money coming in. He took money from the business to cover what he took from our personal accounts, and then took out loans to cover the business, and spent it all away on gambling and other illegal activities that have come to light over the past few weeks. I'm sorry to be vague, but it's just embarrassing and hard to talk about. To the people who said that maybe the crash was intentional, it is looking increasingly likely that it was. Nobody else was involved. His car went off the road and hit a tree. He had life insurance before, but he stopped paying the policy months ago. I'm in contact with the police about the credit cards in our names and the other things that were discovered. All in all, things are looking really bleak at the moment, but I have faith that eventually it will work out. I have a few leads on jobs and have picked up a little temporary work here and there the last few weeks, so that we have something coming in. I have signed up for food stamps and Medicaid, so once that goes through, it will be a bit of help. I applied for AMHA as well, but they said waitlist can be a few years wait, so that is kind of long shot. Someone has suggested asking family/friends for help or loans, and they absolutely would help me if they could, but none of them are in a financial position to be able to help. My sister will hopefully be able to let us stay with her temporarily until I can sort things out and get us back together. She's my only living family and has been my rock through all this. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you all again for listening and helping. If anyone else has any more suggestions in trying to pick up the pieces that I haven't thought of, I would appreciate any advice. Second update. First of all, sorting things out didn't take nearly as long as we thought it would. Things ended up being a lot more straightforward than they first appeared. I will be filing for bankruptcy, probably early next year. I've talked intensively with a lawyer and weighed my options, and that seems like the best way to move forward at this point. 90 to 95% of the debt should be discharged with bankruptcy, so that is a good thing, although it's bittersweet. We are losing the house. We will be moving out by November 30th. I am worried about the bankruptcy/credit issues with trying to rent an apartment. However, I'm now on the list for PMHA housing, and from what I've heard, the wait isn't long at all. We ended up not being able to count on staying with my sister for longer than about a week, thanks to her jerky landlord, so I'm trying to find something else in the meantime. I have a few options to look into. Honestly, I'm not that sad about the fact that we have to move out of the house. The old place is filled with tainted memories now, and I think it will be good to get a fresh start. I've been assured by the police and my lawyer that because of the criminal nature of opening the accounts in the kids' names, we should be able to get their credit cleared. That one might be a long road, but we'll get through that too. My applications for Medicaid and food stamps came through, so that is some definite stress off my shoulders. I made the girls and myself an appointment at a family counselor, which we will be going to next week. The lady at PMHA Housing was very reassuring and very sweet about my situation, and she made it sound like I was pretty much a shoo-in as soon as a place opened up. Last but not least, I listened to the many Redditors that told me to make a post over r/Santa's Little Helpers to inquire about help with Christmas for the girls. So hopefully we will be able to find some holiday help, and that'll be another huge load of stress lifted off my shoulders. I want to thank everyone who messaged me and offered words of encouragement and support. I can't even begin to tell you how much it means to me to know that I'm not alone. I never imagined Reddit to be an empathetic and caring source of comfort, but it turns out that is exactly what it is. Thanks again, everyone. Now for the final update. Hello, everyone. I wanted to give one last update to my situation since so many of you reached out to me. This has been a whirlwind few weeks. A lot of change, a lot of stress, and a lot of hard work. As difficult as all this has been, and will still be to go through, I am feeling more positive than I have in months. The legal issues are being dealt with as best they can for the moment, and we are looking at filing bankruptcy early next year. It is scary to think about, but I do know it is our best option and things will work out in the end. We moved out of our house almost a week ago. It feels very bittersweet and the girls are having a difficult time, but I know they will adjust, and I really do think a fresh start will be the best thing for us. The girls are in individual grief counseling and we began family therapy. I will be making an appointment for myself as well, something so many of you encouraged me to do. Some of my good news now. We were able to find a permanent place to live, with a very sweet landlord who is sympathetic to my situation and has previous experience with the welfare system, and has bent over backwards to help me through all of the red tape. We will be moving, again, into the new place at the end of this month. Hopefully that will be the last time we have to move for a very long time. My second huge piece of good news to update with is that I got a job. I'm now working full-time in an office of a company that is owned by someone I met through my post here. She contacted me after my last update and offered me a trial run with her company. I started this past Monday, and so far, so good. I'm incredibly humbled and grateful to her for giving me a chance. That brings me to my third point and really the reason I'm making this update. I wasn't sure what to expect when I first reached out for advice here. I just felt so overwhelmed with the situation, and I think I was just mostly wanting to not feel alone and to connect with and talk to people who had some understanding of what I was dealing with. The advice, the stories of dealing with similar circumstances, the encouraging messages, the fact that you all literally saved Christmas for me and my kids, a new freaking job, and just the empathy and kindness you all have shown to me and my family is so far beyond anything I expected that I don't even know the words to express how grateful and humbled and loved it has made me feel. It is going to be a long, tough road, but I have total faith that things will be okay, and that it is in a large part due to the r/legal advice community. So in closing, I want to say thank you to every single person who reached out to me in any way, shape or form. Thank you for lifting us up and helping us through this. You guys have saved me in a million different ways that I will always be grateful. I hope you all have the merriest Christmas ever. I got so angry reading this. What an utter douchebag. I'll probably sound cynical, but this is the part that angers me the most. To the people who said that maybe the crash was intentional, it is looking increasingly likely that it was. And he had life insurance before, but he stopped paying the policy months ago. Selfish to the end. Yeah, my dad has some financial and health problems and ended himself. But he had life insurance policy in place that would have paid out, even if his death was ruled as self-inflicted. Most life insurance plans will pay out for self-harm if they've been kept for over 2 years. To let the payment lapse and still end yourself is incredibly messed up. Could have at least done it before you stopped being able to pay for life insurance. Sorry for your loss. My dad did the same but also had life insurance. My granddad, father's father, convinced my mother to not make a claim on a policy because it would be shameful. So instead, we lived in poverty while she worked multiple low-paying gigs to keep up with the mortgage payments and feed us kids. Wasn't until she got a new partner several years later that he talked some sense into her and convinced her to look into the policy. At that point, however, too much time had passed to make a claim. She's still living off of my home country's equivalent of Social Security, and I got to pretty much raise myself because she needed to work and there was never anyone home. I can't help but think that despite my dad's terrible choices, he at least thought we'd be set without him when in reality we are not. Now for the last story. He wants the perks of being my boyfriend but doesn't want to commit. Hi everyone. So I need to understand if I did something wrong by telling my ex-boyfriend that after I moved out and our business can run itself, I'll start traveling around the world without him. My ex-boyfriend, 23, and I, 23 female, broke up in September after being together for 6 years. I moved in with him towards the end of last year. He had made new friends and unfortunately their happiness became his priority, and I understood that. However, he attended a birthday gathering of a girl who doesn't like me and once told my boyfriend, now ex, that one day if he's drunk at a club, it's okay for him to cheat on me. She has also asked my ex why he hasn't cut me off completely since we broke up. Anyway, I confronted him about attending the party and he tried to play dumb and said he was only there to show the girl's boyfriend his support. Things got heated and we both realized that we were at different points in life and decided to end things. However, we are still sharing our apartment, and because of this, he still has access to me. He still needed us to act like a couple, so that he gets the boyfriend perks, but I'm left in a situation where I can't ask for anything, or for him to change his ways because I'm not his girlfriend. Yesterday, we were talking about moving, and I said I would be moving soon. He asked why I didn't say we are moving, and I said because we agreed that we are not moving into the same place. He had suggested that we move into the same apartment building. And if I'm being honest, I want my space. This morning, he asked if we should move to Namibia after our business can run itself. And I said I'll probably go to Europe. He asked again why I'm not including him in my plans, and I explained the same thing to him. He then asked if I'm staying with him because I want to or because of the business situation. And I again clarified that he was the one who introduced this idea of me finding my own place. Now he's sad, and he's saying he was naive to think I would still want him in my life. He wants us to be best friends, but wants me to treat him like my boyfriend. He wants me to include him in my plans, tell him everything that happens in my life, sleep with him and be there for him 24/7. I honestly feel like he wants to keep me close so that he has control over what I do and the people I meet. I no longer want to give him access to me. What he did really hurt me. I'm struggling to move past it and I still need time to heal. But I feel like he's rushing me. I do want us to be friends but on my own terms. So I need to understand if I did something wrong. Edit. To everyone who thinks it's my fault because I sent a mixed message and to all those being mean. My ex gets grumpy if I share anything he doesn't agree with. He starts banging doors and acts like he's being forced to talk when I try talking to him. He becomes very uncomfortable to be around, and his energy is draining. He also tends to stop working and often uses me voicing out my concern as an excuse for being depressed and not being able to work. This leaves me having to take on all the workload. On the day we broke up, he tried to cut me out of our business, and I have invested my life into this thing. I'm just trying to hold on until I can get the proper papers done and then leave. I'm doing the best I can with the situation before me. To everyone sending encouraging words, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your kind words and advice. I'll definitely update everyone on the day I finally move out. Now for the advice. Remind him that friends don't just sleep together or plan to spend the rest of their lives living together. That's weird as heck. Once you move out, seems like this problem also basically disappears. So that's a good idea. The only thing you did wrong was not moving out immediately and cutting contact. It's possible to be friends once the emotions of the breakup wash over. Currently, it seems your ex hasn't really grasped what breaking up really means. Show him. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my boyfriend's homeless friend? Original post. So my female 22 boyfriend 24 has this friend female 25 who moved in 4 months because she had nowhere to go. Now, I don't mind having her as long as she respects our boundaries and rules around the house, but that's definitely not it. She is very loud, comments on everything, and just does inappropriate stuff in general, and excuses it for being a Latina and that's just how they are. She doesn't help at all besides maybe cooking sometimes, but doesn't clean up the mess she makes, and she invites people over whenever she wants. She changes in the living room in front of us, literally took off her underwear, and I asked her to change in her room. But her excuse is that she was trying to feel like home and then she suggested I should too as it will strengthen my bond with my boyfriend. I talked to my boyfriend about how I'm kind of uncomfortable with this whole situation, and he told me not to overthink it, and that she's just very unbothered and cool. She always interrupted our time together too, and would sit between me and him during a movie, or take my space while I take a toilet break, and she cuddles him in the most unfriendly way. When I asked jokingly if she was trying to take my man, she would excuse it on her ethnicity, and that's just how they grew up. So I knew I had to ruin this Friday night they had for them. I went up to them and she was all over him as usual. I called my boyfriend, and when he was about to get up, she said how it was their favorite part, and that he could leave later. I insisted, but she kept pulling him. So I went and pulled him to our room, discussed how what she's doing is really upsetting and that I no longer want her living with us. He agreed I had a right, but that she has nowhere to go, and that I'll have to wait until she finds a job, which she's not even trying to get. While we're talking, she came and tried to open the door, which was locked, so she started knocking. We just ignored her until it got louder and he asked her to leave, but she got even louder and then started saying how I ruined the only time she gets with him, which obviously is not a case. I had enough at that point, but my boyfriend suggested he talks to her first, so he went and they took too long, like almost 2 hours. And I went to check on them and heard her telling him he shouldn't accept someone who ruins a friendship as a partner, and that is a big red flag and that he should kick me out. But this place is actually my property that I inherited from my aunt, and at that point I knew I had to kick her out. I didn't even ask what conclusion they came up with, and waited in the living room until they came out, and I just told her to look for another place and gave her 2 weeks max. She's been crying since yesterday, refusing to eat and not coming out of the room, and my boyfriend is saying I went overboard and I just hit a sensitive spot of hers, basically telling her to leave when she has no family or anywhere to go. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. This is your property, correct? She has some nerve then to suggest to your boyfriend he kick you out. Well, she didn't know it was my property. I guess she assumed we rented that place. OP, what are you getting out of this relationship with your boyfriend? He moved his other girlfriend into your house. I can't believe you've given her 2 more weeks. I wouldn't feel safe around her, to be honest. I really think you need to consider the possibility that your boyfriend is cheating on you with this woman. Yeah, he is so cheating with her, or at least wants to. The changing in front of him in the living room would had me like, get out. The way he acts with her and stands up for her over OP says he's banging her. Not the a-hole, but you don't have a homeless friend problem. You've got a boyfriend problem. I suspect he may be building her an art room. Not the a-hole, but you should kick your boyfriend out too since he has no respect for you. They're both freeloading off of you and disrespectful as hell. Start the eviction proceedings. This right here. OP, please evict them both ASAP. Your boyfriend is arguably worse than she is. Now for the update. Thank you everyone for the advice and helping me open an eye on the real issue. It was past midnight when I posted that, and my life literally took a 180 degree in less than 24 hours. It has been overwhelming, and I didn't expect this would reach many people. The comments were like a slap in the face I really needed. Apparently, I was too blind. Yeah, I guess my boyfriend isn't who I thought he was. He has been trying to give her food, trying to calm her down, and literally took a day off from college and work. He goes on Sundays too, which he never did for me. And he never even get days off from his classes unless really necessary with proof, nursing. So I don't know how he managed to get a day off. I really wanted to make sure it is what it looks like before deciding my next move. I prepared lunch way before Tom had asked him if he was around for lunch. His response? I'm trying to get her to have breakfast and you're talking about lunch? You're becoming unrecognizable. Yeah, I didn't know what to reply. So just ask again, but he said we can have lunch together if she's willing to join us, as it is rude if we eat without her. At this point, I felt like crap, to be honest. I'd asked him why she was so important that he canceled all his plans just to support her emotionally, which I never did when I went through things myself. But he just left like that. So I invited my guy friend over, which he doesn't like, and I explained to him our situation and just asked him to be comfortable. I didn't want to do the cuddling stuff like them because we didn't break up yet at that point, and it was weird anyways because we don't usually. My boyfriend never realized someone was over until he came to take food. He saw us having lunch together and he just gave me a look, said hi and was going to take some for themselves until he realized it was a creamy rice casserole, which his friend doesn't like. And yes, I did that on purpose, and chicken roast with some sides. And he literally glared at me and said, "You know she doesn't eat that." And I just replied, "Well, it's not her who I made this for." Then he threw the plate, started shouting, asking what the heck was wrong with me and that he wishes he never dated me. It was so scary my friend got involved. They got aggressive, and I just asked him to leave with his other girlfriend, which he replied with, "Oh, so you're replacing me that fast?" But I told him he was the one who has replaced me a long time ago, but I was too dumb to realize. He actually moved in fully when his friend came, and colleges here do provide dorms. But of course, it's not like she can live with him. And I couldn't care less anymore. Also, no legal action is required for someone you haven't signed papers with where I live. They were just guests. So I packed his things for him, which aren't a lot, and left it by the front door. He came crying and apologizing, and acknowledging what he did was wrong and just other BS I didn't want to hear because the damage was already done. My friend was of great support, and he dealt with everything else as I cried my eyes out in my room. And that sums up how I went through my first heartbreak. It was my first relationship and I did love him. But I guess I can watch, eat, and do anything now without catering to anyone's needs. I'm changing the locks tomorrow morning, and we're ordering fried chicken. Apparently a proven heartbreak remedy by my friend. And although her excuse was bringing up her race, I know better than that. Thank you all for your support. Dude was sleeping with that girl 100%. What a freaking dum-dum. Now both of them can be happily homeless. Lol. If he was sleeping with her already, it was definitely going to happen sooner rather than later. His friend overplayed her hand. The dummy just assumed the place was in his name. I didn't think about the possibility that Opie had the power to kick the both of them out. It seemed like the general plan was for Opie to leave and for the boyfriend and friend to shack up together. Then they could claim to their friends that it was because Opie was so awful they sought solace in one another. All the time ignoring that Opie owned the place. Something I doubt the boyfriend told a friend. This might also belong in the entitled people forum because damn, the ex-boyfriend of Opie really thought that Opie would house the potential side piece and him for nothing? Just damn. Of course he's crying and apologizing now. He just realized he may literally have screwed himself out of the house at home. He thought he was such a catch that Opie wouldn't dare break up with him and would let his side piece continue pushing her out. Hope the side piece is worth homelessness. Opie realized she needed to return this catch to the sea and did exactly that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for moving out because I don't want to help my boyfriend out with the rent? Plus mini update. My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 24 female, have been together for 3 years. We live in New York City, and he makes over $200,000 per year while I'm studying for my master's in social work and have no income. Right now, I'm doing an unpaid year-long internship 3 days per week as well as classes 2 days per week. It's rare to get a paid internship in social work, plus internships are mandatory. I spend 12 hours every day either working, studying, commuting, or in class. My only free days are on weekends, so I have no time for a paid job. My mom helps me financially by paying for my Metro card and healthcare expenses, but everything else I rely on loans. Before I moved in with my boyfriend, there was a roach infestation in my apartment, so I'd stay over at his place a lot. My lease was ending soon, so he asked me if I wanted to live with him. At first, I joked with him that his living standards would go down since I can't afford a nice place. But he insisted on paying the rent until I finished grad school. Then we would split the rents based on income. I originally wanted to live in a cheaper place in Queens or Brooklyn, but my boyfriend likes his current place and insisted I move in since he would be the one paying the rent. So I moved into his $5,000 per month luxury condo in the city this August. All of a sudden, my boyfriend recently started asking me to pay half that rent, $2,500 per month. I was confused because he was the one who wanted to pay the rent in full. Apparently, he was talking to his friends and they all think it's weird that I don't pay rent and that I was a gold digger. I let my boyfriend know that I can't afford $2,500 per month, and he said I was leeching off of him. So I told him that he should find someone within his social class then so he doesn't have to worry about a gold digger like me leeching off of him. I stayed at my friend's place for a few days while figuring out what to do. I called my mom about my situation and she is willing to help me out, but the maximum she can afford for rent is $800. I found some places in Queens within the price range, less than 15 minutes away from the city and a bus ride away from my school, so I went to check them out a couple days ago. I've been texting the landlord and my new roommates and I already signed a lease. I told my boyfriend about my new place and he got upset and asked me to stay. He said that he was willing to accept $800 per month instead of $2,500 per month if that's all I can afford. But I told him I don't want him changing his mind again and demanding more money from me in the future. He lived in this condo alone for several years, so it's not like he can't afford to live there without my help. I wouldn't mind splitting rent with him, but I would have to live in a more affordable place outside of Manhattan like I originally wanted. Apparently, some of our mutual friends think I'm being unreasonable for moving out, instead of talking to him and staying by paying the amount I can afford in rent, and that I shouldn't have let him pay my portion of the rent. Now for the top comments. Around he fooled and out he found. Not the a-hole. It is refreshing to see someone just up and say, nope, that ain't gonna work, and then promptly exit the crappy situation and take care of things. The audacity to suddenly demand a cool $2,500 after you had an agreement, knowing you had previously suggested moving somewhere affordable and he insisted, because his friends hurt his ego while grossly insulting you. Make him seem weak-willed, thin-skinned, self-centered, kinda manipulative, and a terrible negotiator. Because now he's sat home alone with his sad face on that his girlfriend left. Plus, he's got no chance of getting a bit of rent for the place he probably can't afford, and no chance of lording it over you anymore, which it seems like he might have been inclined to do. Talk about a backfiring plan. For real, if he got convinced by his friends she's a gold digger when he was the one who insisted on you moving in without rent, and suddenly asking for $2,500 per month? He knows you have no source other than loans and did all this. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They think you're being unreasonable? That's rich. He literally convinced you to move into his apartment, turning down your offers to find a cheaper place so you could contribute. The fact that his friends see you as a gold digger and don't appear to know the full story that you offered to pay and to find a cheaper place and he insisted otherwise is also a red flag to me. It makes me question how he talks about you to his friends. Definitely not the a-hole, and I would question why you would want to date someone who is so easily influenced by his friends' uninformed opinions of you. Seriously, he needed to tell his friends, you don't know her? She's not a gold digger. I'm the one who asked her to move in, and that I would pay the rent until she finishes grad school. The fact that he didn't is probably because he partially believes them. I'm with Opie. He moved the goalposts twice already, and is messing with her life. She should keep her independence. Update. Yes, I did dump him. I blocked him and his idiot friends and everything. My friends also blocked him since he tried to contact me through them. I'm going to enjoy being single and never relying on a man financially ever again. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my daughter's mother to walk back into her life as if nothing has happened? My 19 male used to be in a relationship with my daughter's mother, Ashley, 19, through high school. We didn't use protection as she told me she was on birth control. I know now. Very stupid on my part. Her parents moved so she had to move high schools. She broke up with me, and I hadn't heard from her until 2 years ago when she showed up at my house with a newborn. She told me she was mine, and said she didn't want her and that she was giving up her parental rights. My parents went mental with me, obviously. Fast forward 2 years and we have had a paternity done. Confirmed that I'm the father. Got her parents involved who didn't even know that she had a baby. And been to court and been given sole custody of Leah with the help of my parents. Her parents wanted nothing to do with Leah, so custody wasn't an issue. My parents have been brilliant. And now I'm legally an adult. Sole custody has been given to me. Now, Ashley wants to meet her daughter. I have said no for now as I don't trust that she's not going to walk away again when she gets bored of Leah. I'm not ruling it out at all, but I don't want to put my daughter through losing her mom again. I asked my caseworker and she said after speaking to Ashley that she wasn't convinced she really wanted to have a daughter either. She made it seem like she thinks it would be cool to have a baby, which is not the reason for getting in contact. My caseworker and lawyer have both said that I am under no obligation to allow her back into Leah's life as she signed her rights away, and so did her parents. I have explained how I feel to Ashley and why I said no, but she called me an a-hole. Her friends have also been calling me an a-hole around my college. Ashley doesn't go to my college, but now everybody knows what happened from her friends. Some people didn't even know I had a child before all this. I just want to know if I'm an a-hole. Not the a-hole. Putting your child's needs over the absent mother is the right thing to do. Exactly. Leah is a toddler. Right now, her biggest needs relationship-wise are stability and desire to be present. Mom can want all she wants, but unless she's willing to be a stable, happy presence in Leah's life, then it's better for her that her mom is absent. I got confused with the first paragraph, but if Ashley walked out on Leah, then yes, you have every right to doubt her. And the fact that she told her friends about your situation and put people against you? That sucks, man. Zero maturity on her part. If Ashley really loved Leah, then she should have kept things between you two and been patient. Sorry, when I wrote the post I was angry and it all just came out. Ashley walked out on Leah and signed her right away. She describes Leah as a cancer sucking the life out of her to her friends. I know I am biased as she is mine, but I don't know how anybody could describe a baby like that. She describes Leah as a cancer sucking the life out of her to her friends. Not the a-hole. Don't let Ashley back in your life in any way. That right there, that's not the sign of someone ready, willing, or able to parent, much less be a good human.